G'day guys, how are we? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, June the 5th, just making sure I've got the date right up there, 2023. Great to have you along as always. I have a little confession to make. I am not as organised as I should be. Normally on a Monday, I have the whole day in the office and I get a bit of a chance to get a bit of a listen to that going, but I must admit I've been on the road today, I've been out of town, so I haven't a little bit disorganised, but we will go through everything. We've got some the latest Aussie news, the Australian top 10 that we did last week. We're going to go through that, and the world top 10 as well. We might do that. The box rec schedule. What else have we got? And the rankings. We'll go through the rankings and see what Aussies out there are ranked if we get time. So, and of course, anything that you guys want to talk about. Already we've got old mate Big J. What do we got there, mate? Apologies, boys, in the NT remote islands for work last week, so missed the show. Can't see anyone defended Angelo Hyder. Okay, good starting point. Andrew should have never been sent back out for the 12th. Not happy, Jan. Okay. Carl, how are you, mate? Welcome to the show. Let's start with that. We'll get that comment back up. What do you guys think? We did discuss it last week, Big J. I was a little bit of in between, I must admit. I sort of had three different points of view. Now, it's really hard, I think, to define just one, because last week I said that from a spectator's view, I probably would have liked to have seen it pulled up after the 11th round, but hey, I'm not in the corner. I'm not in Andrew's head. I don't know. But from the stands, I wouldn't have thought anything less of Andy if it had been pulled out in the 11th round. From the fighter's point of view, of course, 100% wanted to continue, so you got to take that in consideration. Then, of course, the trainer's point of view. Does he want the fight stopped but listens to the fighter? It's a very, very tricky situation, Big J. And as I said, I'm not going to define which one I would definitely back because there's so many different points of view. But I understand what you're saying there. I get it. I did actually speak to Andy on Friday. What's today? Monday. On Friday, I spoke to Andy. I gave him a call and just to check in and see how he's going. And rest assured, he's okay, in a really good frame of mind. He was on the project last night. I don't ever watch that shit, I must say. I think it's a ridiculous shit program. But I did watch the clip they put up later. So I'm sorry if I offended people out there that like watching the show, but I think it's dog shit. But anyway, Andy and Jason were on there last night, and I thought they spoke really well. And humble as always. But speaking of Andy, getting back to him, Big J, he did say he was looking forward to a return later on in the year. Looks like Jason will fight or defend his title here in Australia. Andy will be obviously the chief support or around the bout. So, it's an interesting one, mate. As I said, I take on board what you're saying, but I don't know, until you've actually been sitting in that corner in the shoes, it's a really tough one to make judgments. What do we got there? Nathan Mays, how are you, mate? On your Lynden, love your work. Hundy out with injury. Yes, we'll get to that, mate. What is going on with Australia's elite boxers at the moment? We'll come back to that one, mate. Carl says, look, my thoughts, which count for stuff all, I'll say stuff all. We've got people listening on the podcast later on. We're all, Andrew wasn't comprehending instructions from the corner, so I would have thrown it. Yeah, look, I think I said, Carl, that my wife was watching the fight on the TV at home. I, of course, was in the arena, so I couldn't see or hear what was going on in the corner. She did say that he didn't really respond to a lot of Angelo's instructions or comments or remarks, whatever it might have been. So, look, it could be a lot of different things involved in that. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not in his head. I can't comment. But, she did say that he just didn't see himself in the corner. That could be a lot of different things. But it's an interesting topic, isn't it? Would you have pulled him out or wouldn't you? Let's hear your thoughts, guys. I mean, obviously, Big J's comments or opinions there. He would have pulled him out. What round would you have pulled him out, Big J? Would you have done it after 11th or even earlier? So let us know in your comments. Carl, whoever else is in the comments there, what would you have done? If you're Angelo Hyder in the corner, do you listen to Andrew who says, I want to continue? Or do you say, no, let's pull him out and fight another day? Let's not forget, guys, he was 20 seconds or 18 seconds away from seeing out the 12th round. I know it just seems a lot worse because of what happened in the last 18 seconds, but it's just one of those really, tough questions, I suppose. Zigmont, how are you, mate? What do we got there? I think that's about the injuries. We'll get back to that one. Let's go to Ghetto Matt. I'm in two minds. With the benefit of hindsight, one can easily now say that Angelo should have followed his initial instinct and not sent him back out. But Andy wanted it and nearly made it to the final bell. And that's what I'm saying, Matt. It was 18 seconds away. And again, I'm not like I just think Andy and Jason are such great guys. It's easy to say in hindsight we should have pulled him out. But this guy, I seen a glimpse of what these guys were doing in training camp. Also saw Angelo's feelings for the boys. He loves those boys. He really does, and would do anything for them. So I don't think it was for any any selfish reasons or anything like that. He thinks the world of these two guys, and I've got enough trust in him as an elite trainer that he if he had a thought that Andrew was in really seriously bad way, I reckon he would have stopped it. But again, it's a really tough one to make judgments on. What have we got there? Carl, hit the like, fellas, on your way in the door. Yes, I keep forgetting that, guys. Like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. We want to grow the channel. Slowly growing, but we need you guys to spread the word. Share the link. Like the channel, of course. Subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and let's grow the channel. Get more and more people into this forum, and give everyone a bit of a say. I'm sure everyone's got opinions out there on all sorts of things, including what we're just speaking about there. So come on and let's talk some boxing. All right. What do we got here? Sika Mordo. How are you, mate? G'day, team. Great to be here. Long time listener, first time caller. How are you, mate? Thanks very much for joining in the telecast. A lot better than just listening to the Spotify, I would have thought later. We do get a fair few that actually listen to the Spotify, a lot more than actually watch the show. So I understand people are on the road or at work or in the gym, whatever it might be. So, hey, I don't care how you get the content. Listening to it or watching it is fine by me. But let's try and grow the channel. What do we got there? Yeah, Zygmunt mentioned it too. Has to be legit. Sorry, what was that, mate? What have I missed there? I'll come back to that one. Oh, no way. What do we got? Oh, Andy's in the house. How are you, mate? Oh, mate, Big J. Round 11, I would have stopped it. Okay, yep. And, yeah, no issues with that, mate. Love Angelo, but the wrong call. Mate, that's 100% your opinion. And it's not... I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. It's just your opinion. But as I said, I think there's three different categories. You obviously, from the spectator's point of view, would have liked to have pulled out. But again, it's just a really, really tough one. I mean, he might not ever get another opportunity again. So what would have happened if Angelo said, mate, you're out? And, would he resent him for it or would he thank him for it? Who knows? But look, I think in the cold light of day, no matter what would have happened, Andy, I think he's good with the decision that he made and in conjunction with Angelo. But I'm also comfortable that if Angelo had pulled him out, I've got no doubt that it would have been pissed off at the time. But give it a few days, and I reckon he would have respected that decision from Angelo. And again, we would have lived to fight another day. I'm going to go back. Keep those comments coming there, guys. What do we got there? Oh, the injuries. Okay, we'll come back to the Andrew situation too, guys. So keep the comments coming in the chat there. Unfortunately, injuries plague Aussie boxing again. I just saw a post on social media that Justice Hoodie is out of his US debut with an ankle injury. I've got that on the list of stuff to talk about, because I can't make sense of it either. That's the fourth fighter now. Tim Zui's going to fight, so that's great. And his injury is obviously a little bit different than all the rest. He got bitten by a dog, so we'll put an asterisk beside that one and put it aside. But the fact of the matter is that Liam Paro, Liam Wilson, and now Justice Honey are all out. Now, Liam Wilson was supposed to fight Eduardo Ramirez on the Zoo card. Liam Paro was supposed to fight Regis Prograis for the WBC world title. He's now fighting Daniel Tito Zarilla, and now Justice Honey's pulled out. I had a quick look at that too, guys. Not quite sure what the injury was. Let me know. But, geez, is it something these guys are doing wrong in training? I mean, Liam Paro's got two ruptured, I think, Achilles heels, which is, I've never heard of that happening before. I'm sure it's all above board, of course, but just seems really unusual that he's got two at the same time. I don't know whether he was jumping off chairs or cliffs or whatever it might be. I'm sure he'll be back better than ever, of course. Liam Wilson and now Justice Honey. Yeah, so, and it's a real shame because it's a big opportunity for Justice Honey as well, isn't it? On the what card was it? It was, I think it was the Pro Grade card and Zorilla card. So yeah, it's a really shame, that one. All right, so back to Andy. Big J, the hardest thing about being a pro soldier, footy player, boxer, whatever, is knowing when to quit. The trainer must protect. It's the F around and find out, and Andy F around and found out. Yeah, mate, look, as I said, mate, I'm not saying you're wrong at all. You've got a great point there, and you're right. The trainer is the one in the position that needs to make the call. It's almost like power of attorney, isn't it? When you think about it, I mean, in the general society, in your will, you've always got a power of attorney. If something's happening to you and you're not in a state of mind to make a decision for yourself, that you appoint someone to make that call for you, whether to pull the plug or whatever it might be. And in this case, it's a similar thing. The fighter will never quit. Well, very rarely will the fighter actually quit. So they pretty much entrust the trainer to make the call for them. And in this case, of course, Angelo decided to let him out. But as I said, mate, I'm certainly not going to have a crack at Angelo because I'm sure he's got his reasons. Maybe, who knows? But I'm not going to make comments on his behalf because I just, of course, wasn't there. Yep. And what do we got there? We've got a few comments coming through. Yes, Andy, congratulations to Clarissa Shields. Predictable outcome still. Yeah, that's it's a Cornejo, her name is, from Mexico. She's actually not a bad fighter. I remember seeing her fight at the Hard Rock a few years back and thought she went all right. The thing is, though, I think she'd only had a couple of knockouts. Clarissa Shields has only had a couple of knockouts in her 20-odd fights. So it was always pretty predictable, but look, she's probably the pound for pound number one of all time now that Katie Taylor's been beaten. Look, she probably is the greatest women's fighter of all time. So good on her. Not sure how many fights she's got left in her. I'm assuming the ladies have got a lot of career in them because they don't really get knocked around too much. So probably just makes sense that she'll be around for quite some time. Dundee Luke, how are you, mate? Your thoughts on Brock Jarvis versus Nikita Tszyu. Now, is that a fight that might be happening? Have I missed something here? Let me know. If it's a hypothetical, I think that is an easy night for Nikita Tszyu. If that's the case, again, I'm not sure whether it's been signed, sealed, delivered, or you're just putting it out there. But for me, I think that obviously be at Super Welter, which is 154. I don't think Brock Jarvis has the power to hurt Nikita. I don't think he has the skill set. I love Brock Jarvis, don't get me wrong, but you've put it up on the screen there. I think Nikita Tszyu is too sharp, too strong, too powerful, and is just simply too good for Brock, I'm afraid. And as I said, I think a lot of Brock Jarvis, but that is a hill too high to climb, if you ask me, Luke. So Nikita Tszyu would win that one, if you ask me. What have we got here? Everyone's saying hello to each other, which is great. Shane, how are you, Shane? Welcome to the show. If Andy doesn't get caught in the last seconds of the fight, everyone's saying it should have been stopped. Would have been saying, what a brave warrior, legend me effort. Yeah, well, another good point there, Shane. 100%. Like, I must admit, halfway through the last round, I was sort of like, thank God that that he's got through to the last battle. He took some major punishment, as you guys all saw out there. It was not good. And in person, you could really hear those uppercuts really smacking in. And I thought Andy actually adjusted okay, because early in the fight, I really thought he was in a bit of trouble with those uppercuts. I really thought at some stage one of those is going to land, and it's obviously what happened in the end. But I thought he adjusted okay. The two knockdowns prior to the last one were straight lefts, him pulling out with his chin up. And he got stopped, dropped with both of those two shots. Well, I think the first one might have been an uppercut, was it? And the second one was the straight left. More just caught him off balance, I thought, as he was pulling out. I don't think it had him too rocked. It was more fatigue. But the last one was sort of that Manny Pacquiao left hook that he knocked out Ricky Hatton with, wasn't it? So, but I'm with you, Shane, exactly. If you hadn't seen out those last 20 seconds, then everyone would have been saying what a brave effort that it was. But it's easy probably to say that, Shane, probably coming from Big J's point of view here. He's like, well, but he didn't last the distance. He got knocked out and knocked out badly. So, it's a bit like saying in the footy, just if only we kicked that goal, we'd be high-fiving, but we didn't. We lost. So 50-50 in this situation, and unfortunately for Andy, it went bad, but after 20 seconds, it's a different... but another 20 seconds, it's a different story. Yeah, no, you're right there, mate. So, look, it's one of those things, unfortunately, and... yeah, but the good news is that he seems okay. He did say, obviously, he was a bit shaken up afterwards. No doubt he would have had concussion. He'd go to the hospital. But I think since then the tests have shown that there's no ill effects and he's all good to go. I would hope that he would have another month or so off of not even going near the gym. If he wants to go back out and start a little bit of cardio work to keep the kilos off, well, that's probably a little bit different. But I wouldn't mind seeing him to stay away from boxing completely until another month or so. I know he was on holidays, so he's gone off with his family for a well-earned break. So let's hope he gets some fresh air and everything else, and comes back totally refreshed and has another run at it. Because look, there are some options. He could go down in weight. That's what he said might be an option as well. He does make light flyweight very comfortably, and it's actually interesting that he used to fight at bantamweight, and he dropped down to super flyweight when he hooked up with Angelo Hyder. So who could he go down to flyweight? Let's have a look and see who's around in those weights. Get off topic a little bit there. Flyweight. All right, we'll bring you guys in on this one. Let's have a look. So you can see there, we'll just get rid of Big J's comments there. There we go. So who we got? So WBC, Julio Cesar Martinez, Artem Dalakian, Sonny Edwards, Jesse Rodriguez. I know Rodriguez is probably the best of that bunch, I would think, but why couldn't he go for an IBF, WBO, WBC belt at flyweight if that's what he wanted to do? Even the other, obviously Junto Nakatani is the champion now in that division, but look, Fernando Martinez, Joshua Franco, of course, he's already fought 3 times. Estrada is obviously a little bit different as well. So, yeah, look, there's some options there for him, especially if it's flyweight. Jesse Rodriguez would be a tough fight, but I think I'd give him a chance against all those other champions. So, who knows? And what about Jason while we're going? Obviously hasn't been updated there. He's the champion now. So I'm not quite sure who he would fight down here in Australia. I mean, I think he beats any of those guys. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. Yep, Big J, damn right. Yeah, no, you are right, mate. I think we can all agree to disagree a little bit, but I think the main thing is that, as I said, I just don't think that Angelo would have done anything at all to harm or to put Andrew in harm's way deliberately anyway. But, yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? All right, guys, just getting back to the injuries. We'll keep chatting on that if you'd like to keep putting your comments in there about Andrew. What's next for Jason? Let me know your thoughts. What do you think he should do? Yeah, but Justice Honey injured. I'm not quite sure. I'll have a bit of a look. I'm going to get onto his page at the moment. Let's see. Just says, there you go, torn a ligament in his ankle. So he's got the torn ankle ligaments, and Liam Paro's got the Achilles. So all foot injuries, which is very unusual for a fighter. I'm not sure what Liam Wilson had. Do we find anything on him? Nothing up there at the moment. So, yeah, not quite sure what's happened there. So we'll get to the social media pages later a little bit, I think. So what do you guys think about that? Is training methods need to be looked at, or is it just one of those things? Now, the other big news also, guys, I think we spoke about it last week on the Deep Dive show. I'm not quite sure whether we covered it here. Of course, George Kambosos, Maxi Hughes has been confirmed for July 22 at the Fire Lake Arena in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Now, I did do a little bit of research on Shawnee, Oklahoma, and I'm going to bring it up now to give you a bit of... This is a little bit off topic here. Shawnee, Oklahoma. I've never heard of that city. And where are we? Let's have a look. All right, there it is there. Hang on, I'll just come out a bit there. A little bit of scheme of things. All right, so there we go. Oklahoma City. Oh, hopefully it'll update in a second there. There we go. Riveting stuff, this, I know, but I had to look it up, which means you guys are going to have to look at it as well. So just there it is. So you can see over here, Los Angeles over here, New York over this way, over here, So you can see there, it's about midway. Shawnee, Oklahoma. It's about 30 to 40 minutes outside of Oklahoma City, which is up here somewhere. So there it is. So if you're looking to go, it's a long flight to LA, and then you're over, or San Francisco, and then you're over to Shawnee, Oklahoma. So there you go. I'm sure you didn't know about that. Now you do. All right, back to Jason. Andy says, what do we got there? Hang on, we'll bring it back up. Hope Jason gets the defence over with, then chases unification. Hope to see Jason versus Nonito, to be honest. Yeah, I know that's the fight they're really after, Andy. I think we did speak about this last week, that I had a good talk to Tony Tolge, and he said they really want that fight. It just really comes down to Top Rank, whether they want to deal with Probellum or whether Nonito Donaire can get out of his contract with Probellum as well. So that's the fight they want. That's the fight they wanted. But it was out of their hands. Pretty much, you got to do what your promoter asks, and they didn't want to deal with Probellum. Jason just wanted a belt, so there was no sidestepping, there was no avoiding, dodging, whatever it might be. He wanted that fight. Nonito Donaire, like he's always wanted that fight since they sparred back in 2017. We were in Vegas, and I'm sure Donaire wants that fight as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happens down the track, but at the moment, I can't see it, mate. Jules says, if George becomes IBF mandatory, who is in line to fight for it? Well, good question. Let's have a look. We'll go back to the webcam. So at lightweight, where are we? Lightweight. All right, so IBF. So George, number 7 is fighting number 8. I don't understand how that's fighting to become mandatory when you've got Gustavo Lemos up there at number 1, who I've never heard of, by the way. We might box wreck him in a minute. Lomachenko could be an option as well. And wouldn't that be great if he fought Lomachenko? There's this Lemos guy. Where's he rated? Is he rated by anyone else? I don't think he is. Nah. Again, how does that happen, guys? How does that happen when you're ranked number 1 by 1 and not by the others? So I would say, I'll get that comment off there. I would say, Jules, that I reckon it could be Lomachenko. I know Lemos is in there. There is number 1 there, but I wouldn't. Or maybe that's it there. Maybe they're fighting for the number 2 to fight Lemos. But geez, wouldn't you think? I know George wants to fight Lomachenko, but he's also in. So Lomachenko would be in line to fight for the WBC, maybe WBA, and definitely W. So he's pretty much got his pick of titles, really, Lomachenko. But yeah, that's what I would probably think would happen, is that George would fight Gustavo Lemos. So yeah, not quite sure. Let's have a look at Gustavo Lemos. Let's have a look. That's my box rec up there, guys. Where are we? Gustavo Lemos. That's not him. All right, there he is there. Let's have a look at him. All right, so 28-0, 18 KOs. Doesn't look like he's ever fought out of Argentina. Hasn't really fought anyone of note that I can see there. Lee Selby, of course. Okay, yep, Lee Selby. That was 15 months ago, that fight. And apart from that, from what I can see, hasn't really fought anyone really of note. So Holger Payes Jr., 4 years ago. So pretty much Lee Selby. So that's about it. Yeah, anyway, so that's who I'd say will fight, mate. Andy says, should be an entertaining fight. Hopefully Cambo can get across the line to add another strap to his collection. Well, I'm all for it, Andy. I reckon he's a big chance. And this is the thing. It's like here in Australia that if they lose a fight, it's pretty much you're out of here. And we a lot of people forget that 2 fights ago that George Kambosos was the undisputed lightweight champion of the world and lost to Devin Haney, who's just beaten Lomachenko. I mean, so... And I think I said on the show on Thursday night when I was with Mike Altamura that this guy is a star. I'm not going to say he's a superstar, but he's a star in world boxing, not just Australian boxing. I think in Australia we tend to get a bit caught up in Tim. We all love Tim Tszyu, of course, but we all sort of get caught up in the Tim Tszyu thing and forget that George Kambosos has held the belts. And in the States, I saw it firsthand myself, at the fights, at the MGM and in the foyer and the weigh and all that sort of stuff. It was mob. People wanting photos and autographs and all this sort of stuff. And you don't not necessarily see that just by anybody. So he is a star in the States. So I'm hoping he gets his belt and he fights for another world title. He's still got plenty in the tank. What is he, 30, 29, excuse me, 29 or 30, so he's still got plenty of time. Probably got 3 or 4 good years if he wanted to. So, yeah, good luck to him. Big J, back to Jason Maloney. For Jason, Paul Butler would legitimise his win as he is a former champ. Yeah, good point, actually, Big J. Where's that? Yeah, I didn't actually think of him, Paul Butler. Now, he is not ranked, I don't think, by anyone at the moment, from what I can see. Where is he? No, he's not ranked. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But, yeah, I'm with you, Big J. That would be a good fight for him. Still with Big J. What's Top Rank's deal with putting shows in Oklahoma? Also heard Donaire going back down to 115. Okay, no, I didn't hear that, mate. But Oklahoma, well, I must admit, Big J, I thought going to Stockton, California, I mean, I'd never really heard sort of too much going on in Stockton before. The only reason I'd heard of it was because of Nate Diaz being from there. So that's the only reason I'd sort of heard Stockton ever mentioned. But yeah, Oklahoma, especially, we're not talking Oklahoma City either, Big J. We're talking Shawnee, Oklahoma. Now, again, that's probably information you don't need, but let's, I want to look at, let's have a quick look at the, I know we're off topic here, the population. Where are we? All right, let's have a look. Wikipedia. Just a quick look here, guys. Sorry, we're going off topic here. But I have to see it. All right, as of 2020, so 3 years ago, it was 31,377. So the odds are it's probably 35 to 40, well, 35, 36, 37,000, I would think. So it's only a smallish town. And to have a big fight like that, well, is it a big fight? I'm not sure. I see it more as an opportunity fight for George. I don't see Maxie Hughes as a real threat to George, I will say. Good fight for George. On top of that, I will say it's a perfect fight for him to get that fight, could put him back in there. And end of the day, this is the guy to get him to that rating that he needs. But yeah, Shawnee, Oklahoma. I'm not quite sure I've ever seen a fight night in Shawnee, Oklahoma before, but there it is. About 35,000 people live there, so hopefully they get 10 of those. Well, I think actually the arena, I did look it up, holds about 5,000 people. So that's what's at about 15% of the town would have to go. So, but I'd say Big J, they've got to have some sort of arrangement with certain cities. Maybe it's not about the population, or sorry, the crowd in the building. Maybe it's more about the TV view. So it really doesn't matter where it is. But geez, Shawnee, Oklahoma, and as I said, not Oklahoma City, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Anyway, I'm sure George doesn't mind. He just wants to get it on. Limos from South America somewhere. Yep, Argentina. Shaw Cruz was supposed to fight him. It didn't happen. Yeah, no, that didn't happen there, Andy. So not quite sure what happened with that one. Look, if he's ranked number one, he's obviously got to be tough. But geez, you'd think George would be a heavy favourite to beat him. Big J again. Bob wants Loma versus George. Yeah, I think we all do. Wanted it 3 years ago before the Tio versus Loma fight. Yeah, he did, from memory. Yeah, you're right, Big J. And of course, then George won the fight. Wanted to fight Lomachenko. That fight looked like happening. Then, of course, the war broke out. And just pull that down there. What do we got there? Hang on, sorry, guys. There you go. I'll patch that up there. And, of course, yeah, the war broke out, so it fell over. And then, of course, Haney beat Loma and everything else. But so I think these guys are on a collision course. Who wins? It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean, geez. Loma looked really good against Haney, but Kambosos is a different type of fighter than Haney as well. Would it be harder for him, easier for him? I don't know. But that's a fight I would love to see, especially here in Australia. Would it happen in Australia? I'm not quite sure, although the fact that Top Rank are putting fights on in Shawnee, Oklahoma, maybe it could happen. I would think it's an American fight. Who knows? But would it be a stadium fight here in Australia? That's probably a question you guys can answer. And I'm talking 40,000 people to a stadium fight. Would that fight attract 40,000 people? Unless it's even if it's for a world title, I don't think so. I think it's more of a 10 to 15,000 seat type of deal. I don't know. What do you guys think? I know we got 40,000 to fight Devin Haney, by the way, but you got to remember the Melbourne fight crowd will support anything once, or just sporting crowd. They'll support anything, any big event once. They will flock to it. The rugby league, the league, years ago. Put on the State of Origin, 90-odd thousand people there. They obviously put the Grand Prix on once a year, the Melbourne Cup on once a year, the tennis on once a year, and they get massive, massive crowds, and they supported that fight. But the rematch a few months later, 8,000-9,000 people, so they jumped off really quick. Would this maybe go to Sydney? Might be another option. Forget the fact that Melbourne has the biggest Greek population outside of Athens. End of the day, I just don't think they would support a stadium fight, being Marvel Stadium, whatever else. I would think it'd be more like the 8,000-9,000 mark that they got for the second Haney fight if they did it in Melbourne. So maybe take it to Sydney. They're splashing a bit of cash at the moment. Maybe he'll get his 15,000 to 20,000 up there. But as far as a stadium fight, when I say stadium, as I said, is 35 to 40,000 in my opinion for a proper stadium fight, and I just don't think this gets it. Would I love to see it still? Absolutely. I'm not sure they'd want it to be in a stadium anyway. I reckon stadium fights are empty. They don't have the same buzz and feel that a smaller location does. I would rather see a 10, 12, maybe 15,000 seat arena jam-packed rather than what we saw for the first Haney fight with 42,000 in a massive AFL field or even a league field where it's just all the atmosphere just gets lost in the roof, if you ask me. So that's just my opinion. Zingmont says, I'd like to see George take on all-action fighter Isaac Cruz. Tough fight. Someday down the track, I believe he's tailor-made for George. Yeah, look, I think George can 100% win that fight, Zigmont, but I would think that George would want to obviously get past the Maxi Hughes fight, get the IBF strap wrapped around his waist, maybe have a voluntary defence first, and then maybe look at Isaac Cruz. I really respect George, by the way, for giving Haney the opportunity first up, and he could have easily taken an easier fight for a voluntary. He wanted Lomachenko and then Haney because they were the two best around. So full respect to George. This time, if he happens to win a version of the world title, I'd love just for him to save it a little bit longer. No one's going to think anything less of him if he takes a voluntary defence. You know, gets a little bit more momentum under his belt, obviously a few more bucks, and then fight a threat like Isaac Cruz. So, as I said, I respect him totally for what he did, but in hindsight, I would have thought that just get that voluntary defence, and I do respect the fact he wanted to give Aussie fans the best fight available. But he's still got to maximise his career as well. So let's hope this time he has a defence and then fights Isaac. But we'll see. Carl says George should make light work of Maxi. Yeah, well, as I said, mate, I think he beats Maxi Hughes comfortably. But I think he's the perfect opponent for him, Carl. I really do. I think if anyone's earned, I'm not going to say an easy fight because none of these fights are easy. But if you're looking for the type of fight to get you a number 2 ranking with the IBF and put you in line to fight for the belt, this is the perfect fight for him. Maxi Hughes, not a massive puncher, just okay skills. He's not fighting him in England, which is good. It's going to be in the States. So I think it's a perfect fight for George, and I think I'm with you, mate. I won't say light work, but he wins that fight comfortably. Dundee Luke, what do you got there, mate? We'd love to see Cambo fight Loma as originally planned before he went to fight for the Ukraine. Yeah, I think we all would, mate. I think if you polled all the Aussie fight fans out there, he's got to get past this one and maybe the next one after that, of course. Who would you like him to fight? I think 99% of people would say Lomachenko. Then again, you've got a Tank Davis. I don't think that fight's going to happen at the moment. I think Davis has got bigger things on his plate, including a prison sentence he's got to serve now. What can I just ask, just to get off track there? You've got a guy, multi-millionaire, he's got mansions and everything else, gets sentenced to home arrest, whatever the hell that is. Well, I know what it is. It's you spend your sentence, you've got to be in your house all the time except for emergencies, whatever it might be. And you can't stay in your house for 90 days. Send your servants out for whatever you need. You can't stay in your house for 90 days. You've got to go out and break your parole or your sentence or whatever the hell it is, and now you end up in the real clink. Mate, is this guy playing with a full deck or what? Because, mate, you need some better advice around you. I know he hasn't been prone to making the right decisions in the past, but, geez, surely you don't need someone to tell you to stay in your house for 90 days when you've got just the perfect sentence. I mean, it was a hit and run, and you get 90 days living at home, and you can't stick to that anyway. But we'll see. I know I got a bit off topic there, guys. We'll get to here. What's that? Batman. I believe this weekend Taylor is beating Tio will be a vicious beatdown, in my opinion. Okay, well, we'll switch tracks here. We'll get back to any of the questions you guys have got up there. Is that okay, Batman? I actually think Lopez might win that one. Well, it's a tough fight to predict. I would think. Well, the fact it's in England might be the telling factor, but oh no, it's not in England, is it? It's in New York, of course. It's in New York. I've got to go against you, Batman. I'm going to back Teofimo Lopez to beat Taylor in a split decision, if you ask me. But what do I know? Josh Taylor, great fighter. And Lope. I think it also depends, Batman, what version of these fighters turn up. They both haven't been overly impressive in the last couple of fights. So I think if both turn up at the peak, I'm still going to back Teofimo Lopez. However, it wouldn't surprise me if Taylor wins. But each to their own, I suppose. The saying goes, you're only as good as your last fight. I'm sure that's directed more at the memory of casual fans. Yep, I think for Aussie fans, mate, we tend to be a bit that way. Not just the casual fans. If you lose your fight, you're pretty much written off. And I just don't get it. And I blame our man Floyd Mayweather for that. This perfect record obsession that people have. That if you lose a fight, that your career's pretty much over. I just don't get it. These guys are career fighters. This is their job. I understand if they're getting knocked out or hurt or showing signs of deterioration or whatever it might be. I get that. But these guys fight for a living. They fight for hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars. So I just think keep fighting until you can't fight anymore if you're not getting banged around because you just don't know what circumstances are going to pop up. We've seen it in the past. And look, I think right back, for me, the classic one was James Buster Douglas against Mike Tyson. He had 4 or 5 defeats leading up to that. Just hung around, got a couple of wins, got to some voluntary situation. I think he'd been stopped by Tony Tucker a couple of years earlier. Out of nowhere, we got the fight against Tyson, and look what happened. So, and we've seen obviously countless other examples as well. That if you're just hanging there long enough, and the opportunity comes, and anything is possible. But I'm with you there, mate. Casuals. Carl says, "I hope Taylor boxes Tio's ears off. Tio's ears like a pixie." I haven't really noticed that, mate. But I hear you. Yeah, look, I'm not a fan really of Teofimo Lopez or his dad, I will say. But I just think on his day, he's a very, very talented fighter. Of course, he beat Lomachenko, so I think on the day he can beat Taylor. But again, nothing will surprise me in this. And you can see there, Andy, who's got Taylor or Tio, still leading to Taylor. Okay, so I'm outnumbered here. Full props, of course, if Tio proves me wrong. Yeah. Shane, all right, Shawnee, Oklahoma. It is a native Indian casino town. Well, there you go. There you go. All right, what else have they got here? It was settled in the American Civil War by the federal government, removed to Indian territory. I won't bore you all about it, this, guys. What are we? Historic downtown. All right, well, I'll have a bit of a look at it. But Shawnee, Oklahoma, as I said, 35,000 people. It's in Oklahoma, of course, and that's about all we'll get to. But if you want to look it up there, guys. But yeah, that's interesting there, Shane. Indian casinos there, so worth checking out. Mr. Pads, big up, Lynden. You're sitting ringside. Well, not just ringside. I'm in the ring at the moment, mate. Behind me here. What do we got there? Let's keep going down. Yep, everyone's okay. Jay Brown, Shawnee's Arena is calling it the biggest sporting event to ever hit Shawnee. There you go. Hang on, now you got me here, mate. Now I'm going to have to look up the Shawnee Arena. Where are we? Okay, so there it is. Yep, Shawnee. Where's the? All right, let's have a look at Fire Lake Arena. Great name, by the way. All right, let's have a look. No, that's all the events coming up. I haven't even got it on here yet on the. Yeah, all right. They haven't even got that yet. But anyway, I take your word for it, mate. The biggest sporting event to ever hit Shawnee. Well, hey, it could be. And I must admit, even though with the Stockton situation with the crowd, the fact that the whole town was talking about it, they all went to the fight. I won't say it was packed out. They did say it was a sellout. with 10,000 people. I think there's more like 6,500 or something there. But still, hey, in a town the size of Stockton, California, that's not a bad crowd. So I take your word for it, Jay. The biggest sporting event to ever hit Shawnee. Now, you got me thinking about, I'm going to have to look up what other events have been at Shawnee, Oklahoma. And as I said before, it's about 35 minutes out of Oklahoma City. When I first saw it actually advertised it was in Oklahoma, I did think it was Oklahoma City, and that's actually a decent-sized city. But Shawnee, anyway. Andy, I think most of the top-ranked lightweights like Lemos hang around like seagulls, ready to swoop in like seagulls when Devon goes up and vacates. Yeah, it was a bit going to happen there, mate. We'll go back to that page. And so you can see there, so if he does go, let's sort of predict a little bit what might happen here. I'll just get your comment off there, mate. Off there, Andy. We'll get that off there. All right, so what happens if he vacates? Let's have a look at it. So let's just say George beats Maxi Hughes, fights Lemos for the IBF belt. That means Peter and Frank Martin will fight for the WBA because they're not ranked in the top two of any. So there's that one. So there's Peter Martin for the WBA, Lemos Cambosis for the IBF. So that leaves, do these two fight for both belts? Is that possible? Can you fight for two vacant belts? I'm not quite sure because both of them tend to be, these organisations get a bit uppity. But that would, what a fight that would be. Lomachenko and Shakur Stevenson. Or does Lomachenko fight a Cruz and Stevenson fights Berinchik, and then they fight maybe later for unifications. Who knows? Or vice versa. Maybe it's Lomachenko and Berinchik and Stevenson and Cruz. Who knows? But these two here, the WBA and IBF, tend to make a bit more sense that they'll fight each other. Those two fights there. So Zepeda, Martin, Cambosis, and Lemos. And then, I suppose you can pick a few different fighters there. So that's probably what will happen there, mate. Jules again. Get back out of that there. In my opinion, the only way George is filling out a stadium is if someone with the surname Zhu is on the undercard. Jeez, but George versus Loma would be amazing. Yeah, and look, I'm not trying to be a smart ass or downplay George at all, because as I said, he's a superstar in the world, US boxing, and that's where it's all about. And to beat the MGM Grand and at the fights, MGM Grand Garden Arena as well, and to see him mobbed by fight fans, that show that he's the real deal and he's made it. But again, us Aussies are a little bit different. And you're right, everyone loves Tim. We all love Tim. But I'm with you there, mate. And that's obviously not going to happen, I wouldn't have thought, with a Zoo on the undercard, although you never know. Actually, having said that, I think the no limit deal would probably prohibit that for George actually fighting in Australia, I'm pretty sure. I think the only way he can fight on pay-per-view in Australia is if he fights overseas and it's been back. So maybe he's got no choice but to fight in the States, unless no limit, of course, come on board. But now he's signed with Top Rank and Luda Bella. I don't see that happening. So maybe for the foreseeable future, all George's fights are going to be overseas, which I don't think would worry him too much, to be honest. But yeah, I'm with you, mate. As I said, that George versus Loma is really a 10 times bigger fight than Tim fighting Harrison or Tim fighting Ocampo. Pretty much Tim fighting anyone except Jamal Charlo in Australia. The George versus Loma fight is 10 times bigger than any of those fights. And that's not to say having a crack at anyone. That's just facts. That's based on rankings and status in the game. George versus Loma is a big, big fight. But Tim Tszyu versus anybody is going to dwarf any of that fight at any stage, anywhere in Australia. So that goes to show how much we all love Tim, of course, but it's also probably how a little bit naive some fight fans are, that they would view maybe Tim versus Harrison as bigger than, or Ocampo is bigger than George versus Loma. And congratulations too, I will say, to the people of the Gold Coast who have sold out the stadium up there for Tim's fight with Ocampo, 2 weeks before the fight, which is amazing. So full credit to all concerned, and it does obviously highlight the superstar that Tim Tszyu is in this country. So, and on the flip side, no matter what George does, unfortunately, he's never going to overtake Tim Tszyu in Australia as the name. So it's funny how it works, isn't it? Carl, I think Devon has trouble at 140 with the likes of Matthias, Progress, and Taylor. Yeah, I don't know, mate. I think he'd be okay. I'm not that stressed about him moving up, to be honest. I think he beats everyone at 140. I still do, mate. look, could probably go two different ways. It could be the positive could be that he's fueled up, he's ready to go, he's not cutting as much weight. He becomes a lot stronger. He can engage a little bit more. He's not weak, and just focus more on the skill set rather than making weight and everything. I'm actually at this level, making weight's a bit of an art form for them. They've all got it down pat. Or you go the other way, where of course he goes up and suddenly he's not, he's not as agile. He's not. His punches don't have as much effect. And he's fighting obviously bigger guys who punch harder. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. I'm thinking he actually sells at 140, if not up to 147, Carl. I think he can win world titles right up to 147, even 154, really, because he's just got that frame that can carry the weight. I did see that, I think we spoke about it last week or the week before, that he's got the same framework as Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, Canelo is just a lot thicker. So, yeah, I would think right up to welterweight, Carl. He can win world championships, no problem. And you've got to remember at 147 that Spencer Crawford will be moving up both at some stage. I know there's some other killers in that division, but opens it up for him then. And remember, back years and years and years ago, Roberto Duran skipped light welterweight and went straight to welterweight and beat Sugar Ray Leonard for the title. And he was just an average size lightweight, Roberto Duran. Ended up at light heavyweight at some stage or super middleweight. So I think he could do it. I think he could carry 140, mate. Jules, Margaret Court was an amazing venue for boxing. Every seat is a good seat. Perfect. I'm with you there, Jules. And if they are going to do we'll call it a stadium fight, I think they get about 6,000 or 7,000. The other one as well is the John Cain Arena. They have had fights there before. I remember Johnny Green's fought there a few times. I think that has 8,000 or 9,000 as well. That's a really good venue for boxing as well. A little bit more intimate. I think Rod Laver, I was there for George's fight with Haney, the second fight. It was okay. It was pretty. I will say it's a little bit hard being a Sunday afternoon. That's always tough to get everyone pumped on a Sunday afternoon for boxing. Obviously we're used to being out and on the town on a Saturday or Friday night, whatever, and it's a little bit more better atmosphere. But I'm with you there, mate. Margaret Court, great arena, and also, as I said, the John Cain Arena. If they were looking to really pack it out, charge a premium price to get in. The ones that really want to go will pay for it. I must admit, I'd rather pay double and go to a venue that's really compact and what do you call it? A bit more tight knit in there, intimate, rather than that big venue where, as I said before, the sound just gets lost in the crowd. And it's the IBO, yes, mate, the IBO lightweight title. I like though that George is like he's not trying to talk it up. He's like, yeah, it's the IBO belt. I'm not trying to pretend it's the world title. I'm just saying this is what's going to get me to the IBF belt, and that's a sign of a guy who knows where he's going. He sees things the way it is. And as I said, he hasn't tried to talk up the IBO aspect. He's just like, this is what I need to get me where I want to get to. So good on him. Big J says, Loma versus George would get at least 30 to Marvel Easy. Okay. Yeah, I'm not quite sure, mate. 30,000. I don't know. I know the Melbourne crowd pretty well. I would say 20 tops. I'm thinking, Big J. I don't know. Hope I'm wrong, of course. But as I said, if they're going to get maybe 20, even 30, mate, if they get 30 to Marvel, that's an empty stadium. We're talking about a stadium that holds 52,000 people for the football. So that's just the stands. Then you get another probably, 10 to 15,000 on the field. So that's probably 65 to 70,000 people if it was packed. Sure, it's obviously not going to do that. But that's how much it's going to take to make a full house. So I would rather say let's take it to Rod Laver and get 15 in there and pack them in. And as I said before, maybe charge a bit extra for the tickets. It's worked for No Limit. They've done it for the Tim Tszyu fight. Those tickets aren't cheap, but they've sold it out. So I don't know, Big J. 30,000, I think for me is a bit of a stretch, but maybe I'm wrong. Mr. Pads, what have we got there, mate? Massive credit to Justice Honey for taking such a tough fight to stage of career. Sorry, mate, he is out. Going to be a great fight. No, it's not because it ain't taking place. So it would have been great if he had won. But yeah, Mr. Pads, he has pulled out with a torn tendon in his, did I say his ankle? So he's out. Sorry, mate. He'll be back. He's got plenty of time. The good thing about him, what is he, 23, 24? Might never be that old. For a heavyweight, that is an absolute baby. So he's got plenty of time to get back on track. I do have some concerns, though, that he's had a lot of injuries in the last few years. Obviously, he had the hand, now the ankle, been a few other COVID a few times. I'm sure that's not going to affect him going forward, of course. Yeah, the injury thing is a bit of a factor. And that would have been a really good fight for him, I think. But it is what it is. And I'm sure he'll be back. Tank Davis and discipline don't match. No, that is 100% right there, mate. Andy says, Tank too arrogant for his own good. Some people got to learn the hard way, yes. Now he's crying in jail like he's the judge's fault. Playing the victim, mate. Some of these guys, that's all they do, some of these guys. But as I said, what are you thinking? All you got to do is stay home, put the feet up, watch TV all day. He's got Netflix. I'm sure there's plenty of series you can sit there and watch. He's got a gym at his house. I'm sure he can train out to keep in shape. Send his lackeys out to get him his groceries, whatever it is. Come on, Tank. What are you thinking? It's just, I just can't get my head around why you would be that stupid to think that no one's going to notice that you leave your house, that you're in home arresting. Just doesn't make sense. Anyway, Tank getting stretched right now as we speak. I think he can fight all right, but he's only a little fella and in prison. It doesn't matter how good you can fight, does it? Team Batman Boxing. For me, Teo has been all over the place, barring a highlight reel finish early. I think Taylor will overwhelm Teo with some nasty body shots. Beat him for me. 100 definitely might even stop Teo. Okay, yep. Let's hope it's a good fight, mate. I think it is on main event here, guys, for you in Australia. Let me have a look. I'll get rid of that. Let's have a look. Let's see what's actually coming up. Yep, so it's $29.95 this Sunday from 12 p.m. if you want to get it. $29.95 Taylor Lopez, and then $59.95 for the Zoo Ocampo fight on Sunday the 18th at 12 o'clock. 100% get that fight, guys. And for $30, when you think about it, I know obviously every cent counts these days, but if you think about $30 for a ticket to the fights, if you ever go, it's a lot more than that. I think $30 is quite reasonable for the overseas fights. What's that? The UFC as well. Nunes versus Aldana. $60 for the UFC. Jeez, is that how popular UFC is? There you go, eh? Sorry, I don't normally buy the pay-per-views, although I actually bought the last one with, I think it was the last one with Volkanovski when he fought in Australia. Not a bad show that was. It's the first pay-per-view I've ever bought, and if they keep putting shows on that, I'll definitely tune in. All right. Big J. Tank is weak as piss. 90 days is nothing. We all did 2 years. Thanks, Premier Andrews. Don't get me started on Dan Andrews, Big J. We might be here for quite some time. But you're right, mate. 2 years. Melbourne, Victoria, the most locked down state or city in the world, if you will. I'm not going to get on my tangent here in my soapbox. But Dan Andrews, come on. But you are right. We all did it. And I think at the end of the day, Big Joe, I think we all, apart from not being able to earn an income, of course, I think everyone sort of got used to doing everything from home, didn't they? And you're right. It's a really good point. We've done it for 2 years. Why can't he do it for 90 days, 3 months? And he can, as I said, he can send everyone out for all his groceries and everything. All he's got to do is put the feet up and watch Netflix for 3 months. I just don't get it anyway. Back to Josh Taylor and Lopez. Batman says, Taylor had a bad performance. Teo has had several. If the same guy that just got dropped twice from Sandor Martin turns up, it will be a painful night for Teo. Who do you rate highly? Who you do rate highly but look bad since? Yeah, no, you are right, mate. And I'm just guessing to say I think Teofimo Lopez wins. I'm just hoping the best version of Lopez turns up. But you're right, we haven't seen the best of him since he beat Lomachenko, have we? So let's just hope we get the best versions of both turn up and it's a great fight because these are two great talents, both been obviously undisputed world champions. So I'm sure it'll be a big one in New York, although it is in the little theatre. What do you guys think about that, by the way, the Top Rank, with Eddie Hearn saying that Top Rank doesn't matter? They couldn't even sell out the theatre for this fight. It's an interesting one. I think Mike Altamura had his say last Thursday, so check that out. He was pretty scathing towards Eddie Hearn. But, what do you guys think? Is Top Rank cooked? I don't think so. I think they're still in the game. But Eddie's the man, isn't he? All right, yeah. So Justice has pulled out. Yes, Carl. Yep, we just found out tonight there, Carl. All right, back to Batman. Thanks for the comments, mate. Really appreciate it. Everyone out there. Cambosis, Frank Martin, Isaac Cruz, William Zepeda, Jermaine Ortez, Keyshawn Davis, Floyd Schofield, soon Andy Cruz. All guys who won't be getting a title shot, but all could be matched for some great fights. Yeah, the lightweight, it's such a great division, isn't it? So many really good, young, exciting fighters in there. And even if Haney moves up and vacates, it could also be like the best thing to happen, because all of a sudden there's just obviously there's 4 belts up for grabs. There's going to be a flurry of big fights happening, and then people in line for those defences straight away. So not only are you going to have 4 great fights for those vacant belts, then you're going to have 4 really good challenges that are going to be put up to fight in those the first defences as well. So yeah, it could unlock the divisions. I'm hoping it happens with the light welterweights, light middleweights, super welterweights when Tim fights Jamel. Because when that happens, if Tim wins that, the whole division's back on track. He's not going to fight once a year or every year and a half, and he's not going to be fighting just voluntaries. He's going to be fighting the best. And I would think that Tim would probably do what George done and would fight the best fighter available in his first defence, which probably would be, I'm just looking here, is it Liam Smith? I don't know, is it? Yeah, these are probably the only... Sebastian Foot. No, who was it that knocked out Fundora? Who was that, guys? Fill me in. His name escapes. Was it? Sorry, guys. It's escapes me now. Fill me in. I'm looking at the rankings now. Who beat Fundora? But he would be a good first up fight for him as well. Just looking at the other ratings there. No, I can't remember who it was. Fill me in, guys. All right. Batman, I keep the comments coming. I must sound like a broken record, but I still want Zoo versus Liam Smith soon, especially with this Eubank fight seemingly off. Tim definitely wins, but a good name to take, especially globally. Yes, I think it's a good fight. I think, look, if it wouldn't be a bad fight, Batman, I know you'd be backing your man Liam Smith. I don't think he rates a chance against Tim Zoo. I know I'm a little bit biased. I just think Liam Smith is absolute tailor-made for Tim Zoo. Not a big puncher, not a great mover, doesn't really do anything particularly well. I know he hangs in there and he's a goer. He has a go and he's got an okay kit of punches, an okay skill set. But I just think Tim Zoo, he's just, as they always say, styles make fights. And I just think Liam Smith will be absolutely tailor-made for Tim Zoo by just standing in front of him. With not a lot of power coming back. I just think Tim's the sort of, he would hunt Liam Smith down. Just my opinion, Batman. I know you're going to back your man, and that's great. But I think there's some more competitive fights out there for Tim if he beats Jamel. Tommy Bundles, how are you, mate? Haplo is a face of Australian boxing. Edith Carl, I'm not quite sure. Who's Haplo? Fill me in, guys. I'll go scroll down the comments there. Fill me in, Tommy. Who's Haplo? Batman again. UK will know what a threat Zoo is to anyone at 154 after. Yeah, he will. Look, don't get me wrong. I think if Tim wins that fight, financially, it's a great option for Tim to go to England. I would think he would want to go to England, and I think it would make the most sense as far as dollars go. To fight Liam Smith in England, I think he could get probably a lot more money than he would get in Australia for that fight. And as I said, I think it's the easier fight for him than any of those really top-ranked guys. But, yeah, I've got a feeling that later in the year you're going to see that when Tim Zoo lifts those belts, as I said, he'll unlock the division. We will see these type of fights. Must be hard being a super welterweight at the moment because not a lot happening as far as the top end. You've got Tim obviously doing a bit, and Fundora took his chance. But Jamel's holding those belts ransom. Dundee Luke, Zoo versus Smith is a banger. Yep. Not saying it wouldn't be an entertaining fight. I just don't think he's a chance to beat our man Tim. Sorry, can't call him Timmy. Andy, I got Regis over Devon. Okay, shit. He hits way harder. That's why I love this program, guys, because all this gets thrown up, and I love the differing point of views, and we can talk about it in a respectful way, of course. He hits way harder than Loma. Yes, that's 100%. If Regis lands flush, he'll stop Dev, in my opinion. Okay, full props if Dev proves me wrong, of course. Supposedly negotiating at the moment. Well, I hope that's the case, mate, because that's a great fight. I just don't think Devon's finished with the lightweights yet, mate. Why wouldn't he fight Gervonta Davis? I know he's occupied for the next 3 months, so he might not be available next. But for for Devon, let's have a look and see what could be next for him. So obviously there's the Lomachenko rematch. Shakur Stevenson, I think it's a little bit early for that one. Frank Martin, of course, Isaac Cruz could be options. Frank Martin, I just said. So some good fights there for him. Sean Davis down the track. I think Devon will be long gone by then. But why wouldn't you fight Gervonta Davis maybe in 6 months' time? Because you think Gervonta should be out after that 3 months. He'll only need 3 months to really get himself back into tip-top shape. I'm sure he'll be training in jail. Maybe that could be an option. But if not, I don't think he'll fight Lomachenko again. I don't think he'll want that one. I think it's a bad career move for him. And I think Shakur Stevenson's a bit early. I'm not sure we'll see the Stevenson-Haney fight, to be honest, Andy. I just think that Haney will be well and truly gone by then. But, yeah, if that is the case, mate, and if it is pro-grade, what a great fight that would be. Tim versus Mel 2 would fill the MCG. It would, mate, 100%. Yeah, Carl, I'll 100% back that. If he obviously beats him in the States and the rematch is back in Australia, I would think, well, I won't say Phil, but I would say 60 to 70,000. I think the Melbourne fight crowd would come out in force. Now, I am going to say something. I promoted Tim at the end of 2018 before he went to No Limit, his last fight before he joined No Limit. We got 1,300 to the Bendigo Stadium, if you can believe that. 1,300. And Andrew Maloney fought a former world champion on the undercard, and we could only get 1,300. How times have changed. Maybe the promoter had something to do with it. These guys know what they're doing, of course. But I'm with you, mate. I'm thinking 65, 70,000 people would go to the MCG for Tim Tszyu versus Jamal. Or even if it wasn't Jamal, even if he wins the belt, and even if, let's say, he fought Liam Smith, it doesn't matter who he fights. They're going to build it up like, he's fighting, Mike Tyson. That's the way the Aussie press will do it, which is what we need. I think if he would have to fight the MCG. Actually, I take that back, Carl. I doubt, unless it depends on what time of the year it would be, because the weather, you never trust an outdoor stadium in Australia, which is always, whenever they have a big concert there, and I know they get 100,000 plus to the Billy Joels and the Ed Sheerans and stuff, but geez, there's no way I would do an outside event if I was the promoter. But Marvel Stadium, I reckon they would get the 60,000 at that stadium, mate. But again, I'm not a big fan of Marvel as a fight venue, but the MCG would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Batman. Dundee Luke, agreed. Even more selfishly, I would love it to be in Manchester. Yep, get a win back for the Zoo name. Same arena, Hatton beat Costa. I think you always remind us of that, Batman, that Costa lost to Hatton in that city, and Smith just KO'd Eubank. Would love to see. Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I reckon Tim Tszyu would love to go to Manchester and fight Liam Smith as well. I really do. And I think it would mean a lot to him to obviously fight there. Of course, it doesn't avenge his dad's loss, but to have that fight there in a boxing mad country like England, I think it would be fantastic. Rowan, how are you, mate? What have we got there? Surely Cambo versus Lomba is bigger than Haney and Cambosis. The second was just a hard sell. People were more keen for Lomba over Haney at the time. Yeah, so you're probably right, to be honest, Rowan. Yeah, look, I think people would probably react better the second fight I'm talking about, not the first, because that was a big event. And as I said before, people in Melbourne especially really get behind the one-offs or the once-a-year things. And that was too much. There was too much of a backup, too early, way too early. People just didn't sort of respond to it. They should have taken it out of Melbourne and put it in Sydney, if you ask me, or Queensland even. Took the money from those guys up there. So I think that was a bad choice from the promoters, because you're right. It was just a hard sell. And the numbers speak for themselves. 42,000 were at the first fight, and I would have thought maybe 8,000 to 9,000 for the second fight. I was there. They had the top tier sectioned off, and it didn't really have that big fight feel about it. So, and I'm glad he's talking about going to Sydney if it is a Loma fight. I think that's a really good decision by him. But I agree with you, Rowan. Cambosis Loma would be perceived or accepted a lot more than what that second Haney Cambosis fight was. Because as I said, it was just too early, way too early. or soon after that first fight. Adam, how are you, mate? Good evening to you as well. Hope you're well as well. Good value, shame no limit. Robbing bars as well. Look, the only defence I'll give him, Carl, is that the only defence I'll put up for them is that obviously these shows they cost a lot of money. Well, actually, we'll have a quick look at the show. We'll bring it up. I was going to do this a little bit later. Let's have a look at the card. Look, $60 is a lot of money. I thought it was great value for the last fight. This one I'm not so sure about. I'll bring this up on the webcam there. I'll just get rid of that. All right, so you can see there, so Zua Campo. The undercard, you can see there, Justin Frost, Hassan Hamdan will be okay. The rest of the card, I'll just get that off the screen there. I must admit, look, Sam Goodman and Rais Alim should be a really good fight. But as I said last week, I just think they're lacking one more quality fight. And it's too late now. We're only 2.5 weeks away. So it's way too late. $60 for that. Look, end of the day, mate, anything to do with Tim Tszyu, I think it's worth $60. They have to charge it. I mean, Ocampo, I would have thought it's going to cost him $1 million to get him out here to fight Tim. Of course, Tim's got to get his share as well. He's probably on $2 million. So all of a sudden, that's a lot of money you've got to front up. Although the rest of the card wouldn't be overly expensive. I'm going to quick at this Aleem. Quick look at him for starters. Let's have a quick look at. So he's 20-0. Who's he beaten? So he's American. Yeah, okay. Just okay record there. All right. Okay, so good test for Sam. Anyway, but yeah, look, it is what it is. Big J, Carl, I think it was. People are going to pay it though. They always do. And I haven't got a problem with $60 for the Australian. I've got to remember, this is where they make the majority of their money. The gate is a drop in the ocean, or a drop in the bucket more so than the gate. If you think $60 and they get maybe, I don't know, 20,000, well, would it get 20,000? Let's have a look. I'll do the quick sums here. So they get, let's just say 20,000 times $60, $1.2 million. That's all it pulls in. So maybe it's probably more than that. Let's say 25,000 times $60. Still only $1.5 million. If they get, how many they get to the crowd into the stadium? I can't remember how many. Let's just say they get 8,000. I don't know how many it holds. At an average of say $150. That's a 1.2. So only 2.4. So, and actually of that, I will say of that main event money, they only get half of that. So you see where I'm getting at? They need $60 to pay for these big fights. Now Campo's not cheap. Actually, I don't think he would have got $1 million. I'm only guessing here, by the way. So if anyone's out there taking this as gospel, please don't. Maybe he was maybe $500,000. I'm probably thinking maybe Tim's getting $1 million. So 1.5, that probably makes a bit more sense. The promoters have still got to make money. They put the balls on the chopping block for all these shows, and they've got the rest of the show to pay for. But that's probably where I'm sort of seeing it there, mate. And that's probably why it's so. Well, it's always $60. Goes to show how good that last show was, the last event. The quality of fights we got for that. And what I loved about that, they were all Australian fights apart from the main event. Actually, I think there's the Russians on there, but I think they were paid by their own promoter. So anyway, I'm with you, mate. $60 is a lot of money, but it's no different to what they pay in the States for their fights, or probably England for their fights. But yeah, $70 is a fair bit of dough. I'll jump out of that. All right. Shortly after Carlos Ocampo fight, Jamel Charlo will be ready and Tim gets his title shot. Otherwise, strip those belts or that belt. No excuses. Mate, I'm with you. I think, look, they are talking they've got before September 30th to get this done. I'm not sure it gets done before September 30th. The fight has to take place before September 30th. There's no way this fight's happening before September 30th, if you ask me, which throws up. If they do strip Jamel Charlo, does he spit the chewy and say up yours and moves up, or decides not to fight Tim? I know he has come out this week and was over the weekend and had a bit of a crack and said he's going to knock Tim out. So maybe it's getting to him. I think he's feeling the pressure. I think a lot of people are starting to back Tim as far as tipping him to beat Charlo, and he's all about the ego, of course. So maybe he's not liking that. So he's come out firing, but. I'm with you, Andy. If he doesn't fight him before September 30, strip him and let Tim fight someone else for the belt and maybe fight Charlo later. I'm still not not being a pessimist here, I'm still not sold that the Zoo Charlo fight happens at all. Just a gut feeling. I just think Charlo doesn't want to fight Tim. He doesn't. Not that he's scared of him or nothing like that. I just don't. I don't think he likes Tim. I think he doesn't want to fight him out of spite, and I think he'd almost rather just give up the belts and move up or relinquish the WBO belt, whatever. Who knows? I hope I'm wrong. I really want to see Tim get in the ring with this guy. I really do, because I think he takes those belts. And I know Tim would want to win those belts legitimately, not win vacant belts or one belt or whatever it might be. He wants Charlo for all the belts. So, but as I said, I'm not quite confident that it happens, especially before September 30. So anyway, we'll see. Jules, Lynden needs to put the barbecue on and find us all over to split the pay-per-view. Yeah, well, either do that or the illegal stream, mate. But yeah, or for $60, $60, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Look, Wednesday nights are a tough one because you don't. It's hard on a work night or a school night to get people over. But on a Sunday afternoon, I'm thinking all you need is 4 guys to put in $15. I know I sound like a promoter here, but if I could, Jules, if everyone lived nice and local, I probably would do that. To be honest. Do they actually still have it at theatres and stuff where they can put them on? You can charge an entry fee. That's probably, I think, what's that called? Closed circuit. I think that was called. I'm not sure whether they even have that anymore. There should be more of it. I know the pubs will put it on. That's another option for you if you want to go and have a counter lunch at a club or something. I'm sure they'll all put the fight on. So there's plenty of ways to skin a cat. So that's what I'd be suggesting. Carl, Jamal has got until September to make the fight, and he gets shipped by the WO. Yep, the 30th. Mendoza, yes, thanks, Luke. Brain freeze there. You're right. Yep, that was who beat Fundora. What a win that was too. Yep, Mendoza, Brian. Yep, Mendoza. Thank you. Batman, I know Zoo beat Smith, but just will be entertaining. It will be, mate. It will be. And I want Tim to give him a smackdown to get my poker money I lost to Liam Smith back. I'm still dirty about that. Took my $100. Batman just wants Tim to fight in England. Well, who wouldn't want to see Tim fight live? Mate, I will say Batman, he's very, very entertaining to watch. He comes to fight, takes in a ring, takes the fight on, and what do we got there? Haplo just a mate in other. Oh, okay. Sorry, Andy. Haplo just a mate in other boxing chats. Okay, I'll get him on this show. Let's say good day to him. Carl, if not, I'll be heading to Vegas. Zoo was on my watch live list. Yep, you won't be disappointed, Batman. Back to Tank Davis. Davis getting plenty of training in the clink. Practically he's down the dog. Yes. Enough said of that one. Sadly, most of the Australian public are all bandwagons. Yeah, we tend to be. Look, the ones that know a lot about, or the passionate fans, I will say, it's a very, very small percentage compared to the UK or America. We are passionate, the ones that follow it, but there's just not enough around them. And I understand that the promoters and the media have to appeal to those bandwagons. We'll call them casuals. I think bandwagon is a little bit harsh on them. But they have to appeal to them because they're the ones that they need to buy the tickets. They all know us fight fans and Tragics are going to buy the tickets, so they don't really need to sell the fight to us. If Tim Tszyu fights in Australia or George Kambosos fights in Australia, they don't need to sell it to us. We're going to buy it. No doubt about it. So I can understand. I mean, you just got to see some of the shit that the social media creators, I'm not blaming the promoters, they do what they've got to do, but the stuff the main event put on and the social media channels just to try and build the fight up. I don't blame them for doing it, but they have to do it. They have to get the casual go out. The UFC supporters and all those guys and the casual fans are going, okay, yep, I want to see that fight. They have to do it. So, as I said, Rowan, I wouldn't call them bandwagoners, but they're definitely casuals. But as I said, they're the ones that have to appeal to buy the tickets or the pay-per-views because they've already got our money. They need to get these guys to make it worthwhile to keep bringing these big fights to Australia. Zygmunt, a couple of local fights going under the radar that I'm looking forward to next month. Dana Coolwell versus Luke Boyd. Actually, I didn't know that. Zygmunt, good fight. And Connor Wallace versus Matt Sheen. Who wins in your opinion? Great question, mate. Just to get off topic there. I think Dana Coolwell and Luke Boyd. I'm going to back Luke Boyd in that fight. I know he hasn't got the reputation and the exposure that Dana Coolwell has. Luke Boyd's a former Olympian and trains under, I think he's still with Angelo Hyder up in Queensland, up in the Maloney gym up there, Dragonfire gym, whatever it is. That sways it for me to Luke Boyd. and regardless of what you think about the Andrew Maloney thing, it doesn't change the fact that Angelo Hyder is a very, very, very good trainer and gets the best out of these guys. I think he just might be a bit hard and strong for Dana. The only issue I've got with it is Luke Boyd hasn't been overly active. Dana's Coolwell's just fought recently. So I'm going to back Luke Boyd to be a little bit strong for Dana Coolwell. When's that fight, guys? Let me know. I just want to see, is it on? I'm just on Box Rec at the moment. I'll bring you guys in. Am I missing something here? Let us know the dates there, guys, because I don't know when it is. 8th July. I'm not seeing it here. Am I missing it? Oh, there it is. There it is there. Okay. All right. Good card. Hang on. I'll take that off there, Zygmunt. Good show. Hang on. All right. Dana Coolwell, Luke Boyd. Yeah. Connor Wallace, Matt Sheehan. Now, I have promoted a lot of Matt Sheehan's fights, but I'm a big rap for Connor Wallace. That's obviously a Tasman Fighters card. So good to see them back doing what they do. Underrated promoters. Connor Wallace and Matt Sheehan. I've got to be careful here because I know Connor Wallace's trainers, Steve Della and Luke Melden. And as I said, I've promoted Matt a few times. That's a really, really tough fight, Zygmunt. Thanks for pointing that show out. I'm just trying to think. I'm going to go for Matt Sheehan. 10-1. Both fighters 10-1. So, Steve and Luke, I'm sorry if you're watching. I just think Matt Sheehan, the only problem with Matt, he hasn't been overly active. Let's have a quick look at his record there. We're not going to count that last guy. That was just glorified. Well, I don't even call it a sparring session. Okay, so he fought in May last year, and then it's just fought recently. That's probably my only problem with Matt. He hasn't been overly active, and I don't count that last fight, whereas Connor had that great win over Letty, but that was, 6 months ago as well. But he fought 4 months before that. So he has been active. Like, he obviously fought Farris and Letty. Geez, he's had 2 good wins, hasn't he? 2 really good wins. I'm going to change my prediction there and go for Connor Wallace in a close one. A very, very close one. I hope I haven't offended anyone there. What do you guys think? So I think Luke Boyd over Dana Coolwell, and I think Connor Wallace in a very close win over Matt Sheehan. There you go. Hang on, I'll get out of that. I'll go back to there. When does Ocampo arrive in Australia? Less than 2 weeks. Yeah, well, you'd think it'd have to be this week sometime, James. Surely. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough flight. I know Tony Harrison struggled, and he was here 2 weeks as well. So, yeah, it's only 2 weeks away. So you would think it'd have to be this week. Yes, Andy, smash that like button, folks. Big J, No Limit show was great, but Cam versus Haney 1 was way better event. Yep, I know. I'm with you there, mate. I agree. Big J got accredited to hang around Tyson Fury. Is that right, Big J? Were you out there pop starring with Tyson Fury as well? Did you get a selfie? The rest of Australia did. So did you get one as well? Mate, I'll fight Jai McAllister on Zoo versus Ocampo, but the money ain't right. Plus, Jai is shit scared of me. Now, Jai actually, he does a bit, doesn't he? He's got his own social media channel as well. I have seen a bit of him. I reckon he might be a bit big for Jai, Big J. So I'm putting my money on you in that fight there, mate, if that's right. I have met Jai once in passing. That might have been on the second Haney and Cambosis fight in Melbourne, I reckon. I met him at the hotel. Seemed like a really nice guy. So I'm assuming is that a bit of beef there between you social media guys? Didn't you get I think he got an accreditation as well. So sure you guys will sort it out. BJ, damn right, James, and enjoyed telling Fury to go fight Usyk. Yeah, tell him to get that fight happening, mate. All right. Good on you, Big J, says Andy. Fury versus Usyk is the biggest heavyweight fight to make. I'm sure he was just putting feelers out to try bag a fight in the meantime before December. There is talk he's going to fight Dempsey McKean, but who got mega dollars for Mr. Greedy Belly? Well, I did see that Australian Boxing Central and Noonan Boy, who the same thing basically, did leak today that the Dempsey McKean fight is close. I still can't. I'm hoping that is the case. But I must admit, I can't see that fight happening. I think Fury will wait till September and fight Joshua, I would think. But who knows? Who knows what goes through Tyson Fury's head? You never know. Let's get Nikita versus Campbell Hatton as the co-main. Mate, that ends very, very badly for Campbell Hatton, if you ask me. That's got one round written all over it, maybe two. I'm sorry. Campbell Hatton seems a really good young guy. I do follow him on social media. But I think the apple has fallen a long way from the tree, if you ask me, for that one, whereas Nikita was falling directly underneath Costa's tree. Yes, poor Campbell. I don't like the sound of that one. All right, Jules. Matt Sheen coming in hot with his big win over Jalarante. Is that what it was? 8 seconds. Oh, yeah. That's not good, mate. And I reckon Matt Sheen would have been disgusted in that. Because you don't blame in these circumstances, guys, don't blame the fighters. There's no way Matt Sheen would want that to happen. I blame the promoter. And I know Hisham, I think that was his show. Look, unless he was a late replacement, whatever, but that's shocking, 8 seconds. Let's hope we don't see any more of that. Campbell would get owned in that one. Yep, as I said, mate, 1 or 2 rounds for that. James Daly, Fury will fight Usyk in November, December. Bob Aram said months ago. Okay, well, even better than September. That's cool. Team Batman Boxing, Smith and Hatton both take a beating that night. Yeah, it wouldn't be a great night for the Brits, I don't think. Batman. Jules, Jai versus Big J presses can be hosted on Deep Dive. I'll do that for sure. I'll be there to report on that one. We might have to get Jai's perspective on this one, but yeah, that would be pay money to see that. All right, what do we got there? Batman, you can't do that to your fellow countrymen, bro. Yeah, the Zoo boys can fight, Batman. Not saying the Brit boys can't fight, but these are a little bit different. Big J, me and Jai did a face-off at Parker versus Opalu weigh-in. Okay, well, it probably lasted longer than the main fight, didn't it? So that was just a shit fight. Anyway, good on both boys for getting in there. Hey, guys, we're almost time to go. But before I go, I did say that this week I wanted your opinions on my top 10. The Aussie. Did I do the Aussie top 10? I think I did. Give me your opinion of what you think of it. Actually, I think that's Tim Zoo number 1, Jai Patai number 2, Jason Maloney 3, George Kambosos 4, Andrew Maloney 5. The reason I had Andrew Maloney at 5 is because no one underneath him has done shit to take his spot. Okay, that's why he's still at number 5. Liam Paro, no. Michael Zarafa, no. Liam Wilson, no. Justice Hooney, no. He still wouldn't overtake Andy if you ask me. Sam Goodman, no. So for those that questioned me last week about Andrew Maloney, or who are those underneath him have done anything to take his spot? So let me know what you guys think. Michael Zarafa wins later in the year. He will jump, I would think, to number 5. If Liam Paro wins whenever he fights, he would jump to number 5. But Andrew Maloney surely has enough runs on the board, or whatever you want to call it, to remain number 5. Because none of those guys have done anything remotely close to do anything to overtake him. All right, while we're waiting for some comments to come through, I'm going to go for the world top 10. All right, so again, judge me on this one. We might talk about this next week. So we've only got sort of 7 or 8 minutes to go. The world pound for pound top 10. What do you think? I've got Naoya Inoue. I know it could be Inui. I'm going to say Inoue as number 1. So I know that might differ to a lot of you guys out there. Number 2, Tyson Fury. I know a lot of people have Usyk as number 1. I've still got Tyson Fury above him. Usyk in number 3. Terence Crawford number 4. Errol Spence number 5. Canelo Alvarez number 6. I know that might be a bit contentious, but I know he's got back on the winners list. And I know Bivol is below him, but it's a bit of a body of work. So 7, Devin Haney. I think he jumps in there with his win over Lomachenko. Dimitri Bivol number 8. Tank Davis number 9. Shakur Stevenson number 10. What do you think? Why are you dissecting that list? Let's see some comments on the Aussie list. We'll go back to that so I can see your comments come up there. Carl, hang on. Michael Zarafa wouldn't be on my list unless we're talking about fighters who fight title shots. Yeah, look, I just don't see anyone. Look, I will say with Michael Zarafa, it's probably a good point you got there, Carl. But I just think, look, Liam Wilson, for all the credits and the pats on the back he got for his effort against Navarrete, he didn't win. So, and Justice Hooney, very inactive. Sam Goodman, I just don't think has got the runs on the board as yet. So that's why he's number 7. But yeah, I'm not saying he's. Yeah, look, it's hard to argue, mate. He's actually declined 2 world title shots, which is staggering to believe, but he has. But I'm not going to judge him on it because obviously his management have got their own ideas of what they're trying to do with him. And who knows, in 3, 4, 5 months' time, he could have a world title belt around his waist and we're singing a different tune. But I just don't see anyone else above him, Carl. I really don't. He has got a body of work behind him. The Hardman fight's still got to hold him in good stead. I know his last fight or 2 fights, whatever, have been very, very average, but I think he's got a little bit more of a body of work than Liam Wilson, Justice Honey, Sam Goodman, or anyone else, in my opinion. Jules says, ha-ha's Rafa number 1 pound for pound for 40 title shot. Not many fans out there for Michael, I will say. Back to what was that? Joyce? No, that's about Jai. Yep, taller, 20 kilos on him. For me, honestly, Canelo would be 63-0 with Spencer and or Crawford's resume. Yep. Stevie Spark is above Zarafa. No, yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that, Carl. I did agree that he won his last fight, but the scorecard said he didn't. So, yeah, look, Stevie Spark probably is a little bit stiff to not be on the list. But end of the day, look, he got the win over Montana Love, but it was disqualification, so definitely an asterisk beside that one. And apart from that, whether we like it or not, he lost his last fight. So I really can't see putting him above any of those guys. But full respect to Stevie for going overseas and putting it all on, fighting these guys. Jules H says, I think Zarafa's lack of activity is counted against him. Definitely top 10, but keen to see how he's improved over the last couple of years. Creative fight doesn't count. That was a shocker, wasn't it? How close are Tim and Jai to world top 10? All right, well, let's put it back up there, mate. A little bit. If Tim beats Jamal, and Jamal Charlo would have been in that list if it wasn't for his activity. I would have had him in there above Shakur Stevenson. I would have definitely had him in there. Maybe Evan Davis, I don't know. But inactivity's gone against him. If Tim wins against Jamal Charlo, 100%, in my opinion, he's in the top 10. Probably at 9 or 10, but he's definitely in there. Jai, still a little bit of work to go. I mean, great win over whoever. Who did he beat? Sorry, guys. I always get a bit flustered on here when I'm trying to think of these guys. Hang on, there you got me. Now I'm going to have to look it up. Breeders. Sorry, it's come to me. Okay. Moraes Breeder. So he needs to defend it a couple of times more for me, Jules. A lot of these guys, multiple world champions, multiple defences. So I think Jai's still a fair way away. But Tim, not very far at all. Not very far at all. James, a fighter's pound-for-pound ranking can move up or down based on results. They don't move up, especially after a loss. Yeah. Who moved up after a loss? Have I put someone up, have I? I don't think I have. Canelo won his last fight. Spencer Crawford all won the last fights. Look, I can understand people saying, why is Alvarez above Bivol? I just think that Canelo is sort of redeemed himself. I just think, again, the body of work. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's probably the only one. I think Devin Haney's done enough to be where he is. Maybe you can even make an argument that he's at number 6. And let's face it, Spence and Crawford haven't exactly set the world on fire either lately. Neither one of them have had a big fight for a long, long time. I know a lot of people have Spence and Crawford even at number 1. I think for me, as I said, in a way, for me, is the number 1 fighter on the planet at the moment. Fights regularly, fights good guys, multiple undisputed world titles. So for me, he's number 1. Big J. Regarding pound for pound list, heavyweights, unless they move up from cruiserweight, should be ineligible. Why should they be ineligible? Just because there's no weight limit above them? Regarding pound for list, heavyweights, unless they move up from cruiserweight, should be ineligible. Okay, well, that's your opinion, mate. James agrees. Makes sense. Okay, I'm not going to argue with that. So what do you think there, guys? Would you have Bivol ahead of Canelo and Haney? Have I missed anyone? Who else would you have in the pound for pound? I know some have had Josh Taylor in there. Where are the rankings, by the way? I did have... let's get the boxing scene rankings up. Hang on, I'll bring you guys in on this one. All right, so they've got, in a way, Usyk at number 2, Crawford 3, Spence 4, Bivol 5, Canelo 6, Jamal Charlo 7, Tyson Fury 8, Devin Haney 9, Estrada, Francisco Estrada number 10. Yeah, I'm not going to argue actually with Estrada. You could make a case for him. I'm just not sure how you could have Tyson Fury so low, especially if you've got Usyk at number 2. What is, like, Fury has beaten Deontay Wilder pretty much 3 times. He's beaten Klitschko. He's beaten a lot of great fighters. Usyk, I know he's beaten Joshua twice, but who else has he really beaten? I know he was a unified cruiserweight champion, but I don't know. I just think Fury's got the better resume. I really do. And Usyk's a great fighter. I'd love to see him obviously sorted out in the ring. It's not quite sure how you could have Usyk at number 2 and Fury at number 8. That's why I've got him at, what have I got him, 2 and 3. And I've got Fury above him. Look, maybe you could throw a blanket over both of those and let's just call it a tie for number 2, Fury and Usyk. But if I had to come down, I'm going to stick with Fury. I just think he's got the better body of work. He's a lineal champion. He's beaten the best out there, apart from Joshua, of course, and now Usyk. But Usyk, as I said, has only had that one big name on his resume as far at heavyweight. So, anyway, and I know, having said that, yeah, he's got the cruiserweight sort of body of work under him as well. So anyway, so that is my top 10. So again, Inoue at number 1, Tyson Fury at number 2, Alexander Usyk number 3, Terence Crawford 4, Errol Spence 5, Canelo Alvarez 6, Devin Haney 7, Dimitri Bivol number 8. And I have seen that he wants to fight Better Beeve instead of Canelo. I like that, but that's for next week. We'll talk about that. Javante Davis at number 9 and Shakur Stevenson number 10. So give me your thoughts, whether it be here live or on YouTube later or Spotify later as well. All right, guys. Well, look, that is about it. We're 15 minutes over, although I did start 15 minutes late tonight. So hang on, we've got one more before we go. Pound for pound, Andy. Who we got? 1 is Usyk. Okay. 2 is Inoue. 3 is Crawford. 4 Canelo. Okay. A lot of people have gone off Canelo a little bit, but I'm with you with that one. Spence at number 5. I need time to have a think about it for next week. This was really designed for you guys to have a look at, like we did with the Aussie one last week. Digest it, have a look at it. Next week, we'll put it on the agenda. I might actually bring it up on Thursday with Tazzy Brown and Mike Altamura as well and see what they think about this as well, see who they would have in their place and go from there. But have a think about it, guys, and we'll have more of a chat about it next week. All right, well, that's it for this episode of Talking Boxing. Really appreciate you all logging in as usual. Really, really appreciate it a lot. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching these videos. It helps the channel to grow. Share it far and wide. Invite people in to watch it. And more importantly, more input into the chat. It's really appreciated. So, again, make sure you look out on Thursday night at 7:30 for Tazzy Brown and Mike Altamura on the Boxing Deep Dive show. We hopefully get the quiz this week. We didn't get to do it last week because Tazzy's phone died, but we'll do it this week. And this week as well, we'll also do another What's Your Verdict, which will be Triple G against Canelo number 1. And we're also looking to bring the dream fights back pretty soon as well. All right, so until then, thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week.